live?
I think we are. Well, hi, Kathy.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? We're
I
figuring
am
these things
fabulous.
out.
So, for anybody listening, I am Sarah Vedler from Meaning of Life Designs, based in Chandler, Arizona. And this is my good friend, Kathy Mila from Teal, True Empowering Authentic Legacy. And my favorite color, based in Coconut Creek in South Florida. And today is our first time getting together. We decided to embark on a new project where we would get together once a quarter and have a chat about the meaning of life and how it impacts us personally, how it impacts our businesses and the people that we work with.
Well, I'm excited to be here with you today, Sarah. It's this is fun to be live on Facebook. I think we're streaming right now to both of our pages, and which is really fascinating that all this technology that we can do this from the comfort of our homes and be here talking about the meaning of life. And today, what we want to talk about a little bit more in this aspect of meaning of life is to get you to think, get us to think too, about how we tell ourselves stories about what we can and can't do, and then we call it truth or fact. And so we're going to discuss that a little bit today and maybe give you some examples of kind of what we're talking about. And I think if you're okay, Sarah, I'll start off with an example. And we've been talking a
Absolutely.
lot about this example about technology. I hear it so often. Sometimes I even say it to myself, like, oh, this is hard, or I can't figure this out, or I'm too old for this, that kind of thing. I hear that all the time from people. I'm too old for this technology. So I think those are things that we can or can't, that we tell ourselves we can or can't do. And I hear people all the time say they can't do technology, and it's really not a fact or a truth. The truth is you can learn it. We can always learn new things, and it's our openness and our willingness to take a look at things and be open to be in that uncomfortable space of learning. Because often when we're in that beginning phase of learning, we don't know. There's briefly, I'll say there's four phases of learning. There's an unconscious incompetence where we don't know what we don't know. And then there's a conscious incompetence, which is what happens with technology. Suddenly we're very aware that we don't know anything about this, or it's difficult for us and we don't like it. We don't like being in that space. And then when you practice and practice and practice and believe in the possibilities for yourself, then you can go into that consciously competent. And then eventually, when you're really good at it, you become unconsciously competent. So I'm watching us in a phase today, even of learning new technology and stepping into this. And, the difference here is that some people say they can't, and you and I both said, I can, and we'll figure it out.
And just because we're saying I can doesn't mean that there is not some element of terror and fear. And oh my goodness, I really want to run away life right now.
I think we both might have been saying this morning, what did we say we were going to do? What did we? And
I know.
I actually had a friend call me this morning and say, I know you're busy. I know you got this thing today. And I'm like, oh, somebody saw my message on Facebook. So it's real.
We know what I think a little bit of fear arose in the absolute lack of telling the world that we are actually going to be doing this because we've known about it since at least the beginning of the year, if not um, the very specific date um, towards the end of last year. And yet it was only yesterday, less than 24 hours ahead of time, when we finally said, okay, let's actually just make this public and say, okay, we are actually really going to do this and we can do this. You know what I find fascinating about the technology? I have had some high school students the last couple of years coming in to help out with a project. We do machine embroidery, and it's probably some of the most high-tech stuff that you can come up with. You've got computers. Most people have a computer in their home these days, and we're using these high-tech embroidery machines to create. And it's fascinating to me when the high school students came over and they were helping to stitch up some Christmas stockings, they had no fear. about the
Um,
technology. They hadn't had anybody tell them, I can't do this. They hadn't told themselves, I can't do this. They came in, they were open and curious, which is one of my mantras for 2024, staying open and curious. And they came in and they said, how do I do this? And I showed them, and, 2 times showing them how to thread the machine, making them show me a couple of times that they'd mastered it. That was it. They were up and running, and they were quite happy. And yet I find students in my classes who tend to be towards the older generation. I think the same kind of age as the people that you interact with and work with. And for the people who haven't grown up with technology, they think, I can't do that. And it may be unfamiliar, but I think we're really telling ourselves something that totally squashes our joy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's, as you're talking about this, I think back to when I was younger, and again, let's talk about this. When we get to a certain, let's call our the people that we interact with seasoned people. We've been around a little bit, we've learned a few things, and yet we didn't grow up with computers. I can remember in my job as a nurse practitioner when they brought computers on in the 90s, and I was like, we have to learn to put notes in this thing, and there was a steep learning curve. And yet once we got used to it, it was great. But what I was going to say was, going back to like my childhood, like I can remember I basically taught myself to sew. I took a home ec class where we learned a few basic things, and I got a machine and taught myself to sew. So I wasn't afraid of it. It's like you learn that younger, and that
Mm-hmm.
fear is not as strong in us at a younger age. And then we get to certain points in our life where all those beliefs, I heard this statement the other day that 95% of what we believe we is by the time we're 35, we've already got like 95% of what we believe, but it's in our subconscious. We don't even realize that that these programs, that these beliefs are running us. And what I like to talk about, and I think you do as well in helping people learn how to do quilts, is we have to step away from that and look at the fear and say, what is the fear really here? And then what am I going to do about it? It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
looking at it from a different standpoint and being willing to open and willing. I love that you said that. My word this year is courageous. So being courageous, being open and willing to look at something differently and to say, well, what's possible for me here? Maybe I
Yes,
can learn a new thing. Will I be great at it? Maybe not, like maybe not. And yet be open to you might be great at it. Like it's that openness and that willingness to change and to see life from a different perspective.
absolutely. And you don't know if you can do it until you've actually tried. We have Elvie Marie is watching us on Facebook. Hello there. And she said, we need to believe you can't break it about computers. And that's actually a phrase that I start the handouts for my digitizing and design masterclass. I really want people to come in and play with the software and know that you can't break it. The very worst that can happen is maybe you need to uninstall it and reinstall it again. It's kind of like the thing that's popping into my mind right now is NASCAR driving or race car driving, and something major happens, and you pull into the pit, and this whole team of people comes and does all the things that they need to do, and then you jump in the car and you're off and running again. And I think all of us, we need to learn to pick ourselves up. Something goes wrong in the software. Sometimes it's a simple matter of, I'm done with this for today. I'm going to step away and I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go and scream into my pillow if I'm that frustrated, and start doing something else. Maybe start cooking dinner or pick up a book and read it, or whatever it is that works for you, and then come back to it. And you start to see things in a whole new light. But I think the idea is you can't break it. That is something that we really need to know specifically about technology. But anything that we're trying for the first time, and we're excited about it, and then we let the story in our head say, I can't do this, I really can't do this, and then we stop.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we get past that I can't do this and remember that, you know what? I made a promise to myself. Maybe we all need to make a promise to ourselves. I wanted to do this. I saw something about it. And right now I'm thinking it's really hard, but I'm going to give it one shot. And
Yeah,
then once
I
you've given it that one shot, maybe you can give it a second shot and just
yeah.
take tiny steps.
And that's, I love that you said the tiny steps, because that's one of the things I work with my clients is that little by little. And rather than, sometimes we have, so I'm going to say quilting again. Like, I'm looking at that beautiful quilt behind you to think about, oh, making that. It's all these steps. Like, I don't even know how to use a machine, all these things. It might be overwhelming. And yet if we bring it down to what's the next right step? Maybe the next right step is having a
Mhm.
conversation with somebody, learning something, again, looking it up online, like taking what's one step. And then from that, we seem to think that, we've kind of have these weird thoughts in our brain that things just kind of materialize. They don't. If you think of anything you've ever accomplished in life, it's been step by step. When we went to school, we went grade school little by little, so it's just remembering that now in this season of our life, that that's the way to operate and not to give up on those things. I call them your dreams. What are your dreams? Maybe you want to learn quilting. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe there's something different. Maybe it's something as simple as be in better shape or have better relationships. It's whatever the things are that you really want in life, start working towards them little by little. I mean,
Right.
that's the key right there. And I love, I mean, we're talking about technology, and yet you can apply that to anything in life. You can apply that to writing a book, to again, starting a business, to getting a fitness program, to eating better, whatever the things are that are important to you.
Yes. And when you look out into the world, there are examples of people who have been in the definitely the second half of their life, 50 plus, sometimes even 60 plus, and they've started new things, they've started new businesses. Louise Hay comes to mind. I believe she was in her 60s when she really got into her groove.
Mhm.
And um, who's the fried chicken guy?
The Colonel Sanders, yeah, he was in his
Yes.
60s when he started KFC. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I was on a call the other day, and this woman was on the call, and she said she was helping her dad start a new business. Her dad's 85. I was like, yeah,
wow.
that's who I want to model after at 85, starting a new business.
That is amazing. And there's always a thing. I think we've been in a situation, especially with the technology, where being young has been the thing, you know? The kids know it all. The kids can do this really easily. And I think sometimes we forget about the elders in the community who have all this wisdom and experience that they've picked up over the years. And the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds might be whizzes on the computer, but they just don't have that life experience
Yeah.
that somebody who's in their 60s or 70s or even 80s has. The just the wisdom from being alive and seeing all kinds of worldwide events and living day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could talk about this all day long. Just all these stories are coming to my mind. Even when you were talking about making that adjustment and taking a break. I was on a call with some clients yesterday, and one of them said that was one of the things she's learned is she's taking a course. And in taking the course, she would sometimes come upon a subject or a topic that felt really hard for her. And what she learned to do, rather than sit there and get stuck and not move forward, she would set like that piece of aside and say, okay, let me go to the next thing. And then I'll come back to that. Or she would go and take a walk or take her dog out for a walk or do something different. It's like
Mhm.
sometimes setting it aside for a little bit so that you can come back to it. We sometimes we set things aside and never go back to it. So think that's kind of the message we're saying here today is really be mindful of your mind and what your mind is saying to you about what you can and can't do. And you can reframe that. You can retrain your brain, you can retrain your body, and start thinking about what it is you want to create in this season of your life.
Absolutely. One thing that just came to mind. So I'm doing a body transformation challenge at the gym. It's something that happens every January. I did it last year. I'm doing it again this year. This year is kind of a little bit harder because I'm in much better shape. But one of the things that they stress when you want to do something and it's challenging, they say find a partner and find somebody that you can be accountable to. And oh my goodness, what a difference that makes. You know, if you're trying to get to the gym 3 times a week and it's a struggle to get out of the house, having an accountability partner that you've arranged to meet there, it's not just about you now. Now it's about somebody else. Somebody taking my digitizing a design masterclass, instead of doing it by yourself, find a buddy. We have a Facebook group. You know, it's so easy to connect with people these days, and we don't necessarily take advantage of that. But, you know, you wind up in a class, you're excited about the class, and you've decided at some point that you want to spend your time and resources to take this class. There's some vision that you have for it. Get into the community that is building up around that and find somebody and say, hey, I live in Chandler, Arizona. Anybody close to me? Or in this online world, you know, you're in South Florida, I'm in Arizona. We're, I don't know how many thousands of miles apart, but definitely, you know, a couple of them at least. You don't have to be in the same town anymore, but find somebody and say, hey, can we do a weekly check-in maybe? I've
Yeah,
got some people who have met in our groups and now they check in every day, you know,
that's awesome.
and
That's
help
awesome.
each other along. Just be there so that when we get to those moments and we're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I can't do this, I cannot take another single step further. Um,
Yeah, I
you've
love
got
that.
some
Actually,
people that
I see that one of my I just started with an accountability partner myself recently, and so it really in only a few weeks it's made a tremendous difference. And I've done some research, and that's why I developed like you a community group. I have a mastermind that I meet with, and it's so important. We this thing about support. You know, sometimes we think support we have to go talk to somebody or you know go get a trainer. No, it's not always that, you know. It's about what's the support that you need, and we all need
Mhm.
support. And so what does that look like for you? And a lot of time it can be in the community, in developing a community and getting someone by your side. And so the research on accountability, your results, I won't give you all the statistics, I don't want to bore you, but basically your results will double, more than double, but at least double when you have somebody that you're accountable to and you have a specific time and place to connect with them. And so that's a game changer. When you think about success being maybe 30 to 40% and suddenly your success rate is 80% because you have somebody to be accountable to and a specific time to meet, that changes that again. And when your results double, that to me, that's huge. I
that
know
that is
I
really
want all my
huge.
results to
Yeah.
double.
We I see Laura Joe in Mesa, Arizona, popping up, you know, of all of the people in the world that could be listening right now, and somebody who is a handful of miles down the road from here. So hi, Laura Joe.
And I think I know LV Marie. That's her name's actually Connie. I know Connie as well, and I think she's in Arizona. She's out west somewhere. Maybe she'll tell us where she's from. And I love what she just wrote there. You know, like think about like a toddlers. When you watch a child, a
Mm-hmm.
toddler learning to walk, they don't like take one step, fall down, and never get up again. They keep getting up. They realize they're going to fall. It's the same thing when we're learning something new. It's having that grace to say to ourselves, I fell down. I didn't get this right. I thought I broke the computer, but I just had to turn it off and turn it back on. Like whatever the thing is, you get to you get to look at it differently and say, I can do this. Let me just keep trying. Let me get some support. Let me talk to somebody. Let me find a partner. Again, all those things that we've suggested today to retrain your brain. And when we, bring it back to what we're talking about today, like, did you know when we're pondering the meaning of life? This is the meaning of life, the day by day. It's not some big pie in the sky thing that we're going to like give you the answer. There's no one answer. It's each person's, kind of research yourself to see what's the meaning of life to you and what makes your
Yeah.
life happy and joyful and encouraging and empowering. What makes you feel that way? So bring more of that, whatever that is, in. And if you don't have it, find somebody to walk the walk with you to help you get that.
Absolutely. We have some Sandy also in Tempe, Arizona, LV Marie in Las Vegas. So yes, definitely on the west side of this country here. What occurred to me, and maybe we could take this as our last thought, that toddlers, if you ever encountered a toddler learning to walk, if you've ever had a toddler learning to walk, I've got two kids. I know you have a whole bunch of them, right?
I have 4 and 7
and
grandkids and a
and
great
so
grandson.
grandkids, how much time do we spend cheering these little creatures on when they're learning to walk? It's like major excitement when they first start climbing up. And then I remember when Heather finally let go and decided to start walking across the living room, and the cheering was great. So my question is, why do we stop cheering each other on?
Yeah, that's so
Could we not
powerful.
do that? What,
Yeah.
talk about what we're doing that we're finding hard or that we want to be doing, and find ourselves a cheerleader.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Find yourselves a cheerleader because, we know that life can be hard, and we know that there's lots of people out there that, will talk negatively to us. Maybe sometimes it's ourselves, like it's out there. And yet to find yourself somebody that's going to encourage you and empower you, and even if you're down, that will say you can get back up, let me help you. Again, all those things, that's one of the biggest things. And there's this whole thing about loneliness being an epidemic in the world,
Mm,
and it's also an epidemic in people older and in seasoned times of their lives. So, you don't have to be lonely. Like you can find community, you can find someone, you can do the things you want to do, even if you have health challenges or physical challenges or whatever the challenge is. Maybe it's an emotional challenge, maybe it's some grief you're going through. There's all kinds of challenges we're all facing. And yet, what is it? How do you get that support to help you step out of that comfort zone of where you are and do something different? Oftentimes we stay in the comfort zone because it's familiar. Not it doesn't necessarily always
mm-mm.
feel good. It's just that we know it. And the biggest fear that we have is that fear of the unknown. And so when we can let go of that a little bit and say, okay, I'm gonna be courageous. I'm gonna be open. I'm gonna be willing to step into that unknown a little bit and be willing to fall down and find yourself a cheerleader who just claps till you get back up.
Yep, absolutely. And it's so easy to find community these days without even leaving your home
Yeah.
online. Although I will say that the best community of all is people that you can actually talk to in person, face to face,
Yeah. Yeah. I think
and give them
that's
a
I
big hug at the end as well.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the online platform. I mean, I think it's really changed our world a lot. And there's a lot of, I mean, there's so many people, even some of these ladies here today, I wouldn't know, or I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for the online community. And yet
Right.
it's still not a total replacement for that in-person community. We all need to have that touch, that, conversation, that kind of meaningful stuff. And again, we're talking about the meaning of life. So what's meaningful to you? To me, that's the connection. I mean, I
Yes,
think that we all know that relationships are important to us, and having that connection is really, important and powerful in our lives.
absolutely. Yes, it is. Laura Joe says Clubhouse was huge for connection during COVID. Laura Joe, what is Clubhouse? That's not something that I've come across
Oh,
before.
Clubhouse is an audio app. I was introduced to it as well. It's been around for a few years. You could check it out. It has all kinds of, it's just all audio. People get on there and talk and have conversations about stuff. I could invite you to one of ours. Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, Cup of Joy. Is on and
Okay.
yeah, I'll send you an invite because that's a great group of people who get on talk about what's going right in their lives. And sometimes we have days that things aren't going right and maybe you don't have any joy, and then there's a community there who will share that with you and clap for you and support you while you're trying to find your joy again.
Okay. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at what time?
9 a.m. Eastern time, which that would be 6
Nine.
a.m. Pacific, so it would be
Oh
7
my
Mountain.
goodness. That would be early in the morning for those
It
of us
is.
on this side. Well, if you would like to try something that's a little bit not quite so early in the morning on the West Coast, we have Mel's Get Together on, let me see, the first and the third Friday of every month. We do that at noon Pacific time. So that would be 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon on the East Coast. Mel is a machine embroidery lover,
Ooh.
somebody who loves to use their machine or their embroidery machine to create specifically quilts in our world. And we come together twice a month, and it's an open question time and sharing time. Whatever you've been working on, if you're stuck, come and get unstuck. We have amazing people in our community, and it's just a really good time to get together. And we actually started doing that, I think it was April 2020, March or April 2020, when the world shut down. And we realized that there are so many people in our community that were home alone. Their families couldn't get to them, they couldn't get to their families, maybe they were caring after a sick spouse. And we decided, let's just create a space online where people can come and you can participate in the conversation if you want to, or you can just come and be in the energy and see some smiling faces and some happy people. And it's something we've continued and we love to do.
Love it. Where do you do that?
We do that on Zoom, and we also, as of January, we started doing it live on Facebook and YouTube. So
Okay.
if you're not live in the Zoom room having the direct conversation with me, and that's for people who have purchased our design collections within the last year, then you can participate on Facebook Live or YouTube. And it's kind of like we're opening up and making it possible for more people to find us, for more people to join in. And if you want to get creative, we are definitely a good place to go to.
I love that, Sarah. I love that. I'll definitely put that out there. So that's on your Facebook page, right?
I hope so.
All right. Well, you can let us know.
As in the advert. Yes, you should be able to find details about it on our Facebook page. So let's tell me where people can find you, Kathy. And I will just pop
Well, a
this.
little bit about me, just I am a life legacy coach. I retired from healthcare about 5, 6 years ago, and I was 45 years in the healthcare industry as a nurse and nurse practitioner, saving babies' lives. And now I want to save seasoned people's lives in a different way. When we talk about legacy, often we're talking about people talk about your wealth or your money as a legacy. Well, there's more to your legacy than that. There's the life you're living each and every day that is so powerful. So if you want to talk more about legacy, I'd love to chat with you. And you can find me at my website, kathymila.com, or you can email me, kathy@kathymila.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you about life and about legacy.
Beautiful. And I am Sarah Vedler. I hang out at meaningoflifedesigns.com. We have beautiful opportunities to create specifically using fabric and thread and an embroidery machine. I find that it's not just the create, it's definitely not about the end result. It is much more about the process and the joy of creating. And we are I have a pair of jeans. It's like not your granddaughter's or not your daughter's jeans or something like that. I kind of think of this is not your grandmother's quilt. We use the technology that we have available to us, and we have fun with it. We challenge ourselves, and we wind up doing things that we didn't think were possible when we started out. So come and find us at meaningoflifedesigns.com. If you want to find out how do I get started in this whole machine embroidery thing, send me an email, info@meaningoflifedesigns.com, and we get together 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time on the first and third Friday. You can find us on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you so much to everybody who joined us live here. And if you are watching after the fact, feel free to make a comment, and we will both be looking out for those. And it has been such a joy and a pleasure to hang out with you this morning, Kathy.
It's been so much fun, Sarah. I'm so grateful that we connected the way we did in a group and that we decided to get together and do this. We both do very different things, and yet it's really interesting sometimes when we're willing, again, I'll use our words, being courageous, open and willing to check on something different. And so we connected with one another and came up with this idea to do this live stream and just love it. So thank you for the idea, and I'm grateful to be here with you today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, it has. And we plan on being back on the next fifth Tuesday.
I think it's April 30th, if I'm remember correctly.
I don't honestly know, but I'll take April 30th. But yes, the fifth, we figured the fifth Tuesday. There are four of them in 2024, and so we will be back. And
You'll
I
be
hope
back.
to. I will definitely see you in the meantime.
All right. You know where to find us. We're here, Facebook, YouTube. Oh, you got all our digits to get in touch with us. And I hope to hear from all of you and stay in touch. We'll be back in a few months.